Okay, so once again, Joe Biden's massive entitlement welfare state. Is it the road to prosperity or is it the road to decline? Joining us now, former Secretary of State, former Congressman, CIA Director, and Fox News contributor, my great friend, the distinguished Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, welcome back.
Larry, it's great to be with you today.
Now, I know we need to be talking about foreign policy and so forth, but I want to bring you home, because you are home, and I know you travel in the country and the world, and I want to ask you about Biden's I'm going to call it $5 trillion. As you know, I want to save America and kill the bill. But here's the thing. Do we really want to emulate what Europe has done with the welfare state and the taxes to finance it? And also, isn't it ironic that, take Bernie Sanders, he loves Sweden and the North countries, but the North countries and Sweden have been cutting back taxes and welfareism. So I don't know what model he's looking at. But, you know, as you look at this debate, what are you thinking?
Oh, my goodness, so much to say, Larry. You know, before I re-entered public service, I ran a machine shop in Wichita, Kansas. We had engineers and machinists and tool and die makers, people who came to work every day. They wanted to get paid. They wanted to keep the money that they made. They wanted to take care of their families. They watched this nonsense. They watched President Biden try to tell them that spending $5.5 trillion is going to cost zero. And they just know it's crazy. And we've talked about some of the things that are in the bill before. It just needs to go away. People all across America have had enough. They don't want bigger government. Frankly, they don't want handouts. Frankly, they don't necessarily want their student loans forgiven. They just, what if they take out the loan, they're going to work to repay it. They want the things that America has been built on. And so I always think back of those men and women who worked at Thayer Aerospace. They worked hard. A lot of them came off farms in Kansas. They wanted simply to have the government out of their way to be able to defend themselves, take care of their own families, and keep and earn the fruits of their own labor. This bill does just the opposite of each of those things.
And, you know, Secretary, it just strikes me as odd that this administration would have such a great respect for the socialist or, you know, semi-socialist policies of Europe, which under every metric, if you look at the Wall Street Journal editorial today, you know, labor force participation rate, growth, capital formation, every metric, Europe is vastly inferior to the performance of the United States. So why would we want to copy bad habits?
Larry, you know this. The things that we've done in America with a smaller government, more freedom, a lot more liberty, protection of intellectual property, that's the things that made America great. It's why we invented fracking here. It's why most of the work that came to develop through warp speed, the vaccine that ultimately delivered good outcomes for the world, and so many of the biggest pharmaceutical companies that have the most technology in the world, they all came from America because this was the system we had. Europe has a very different model. It has a model that doesn't reward work nearly as much, that has no place for innovation, and it's why we've outcompeted them and grown our economy. It's why people want to immigrate to the United States and not there. This is an amazing country. We don't want to go do what the Europeans have done for so long, which is to disincentivize people to just go out, live their lives, and work hard.
I mean, oddly, some of the middle European, you know, like a place like Poland or a place like Hungary, they're pursuing market-oriented supply-side policies. And as I said earlier, even, you know, the North countries, including Sweden, Bernie Sanders seems to love Sweden, but Sweden's been cutting taxes and regulations and improving their labor markets. So why do we want to embrace a model which will lose jobs, lose wages, and shrink the economy?
You know, Larry, your point's a good one. We use this word Europe. We kind of throw it around loosely. We're really talking about France and Germany, the big industrial, historic economies of Western Europe. You're right. There's lots of European countries that want to do what America did. They want to grow their economy and take care of their people. These are the policies the United States has to pursue. I see now that we are operating in the international space trying to mandate raising taxes in other countries as well, right? We want the Irish to raise their taxes. No, what we should be doing is we should be lowering ours so that America can be more competitive in the world. We don't want to be competing based on mandating other countries raising the cost of living for their people. We want the cost of living to be lowered here so that we can crush countries, including, most importantly, the Chinese Communist Party.
So let's go there. So we would be pursuing a domestic economic policy, Mike, that would probably kill the recovery, shrink GDP. You know, that's what don't take my, there's, you know, distinguished econometric models like the Tax Foundation and the Penn Wharton model, Rice University and others GDP will shrink under these taxes and spending and regulating. Wages will drop, productivity will drop, and so forth. Now, you mentioned China. So everyone's really scared about China flying 150 flights into the recognition zone and the possibility of some kind of imminent war of some kind or another with Taiwan. So we won't have the resources. You follow me? We won't produce the output and the resources to keep us safe the way Reagan did against Soviet communism, and hopefully keep our allies like Taiwan safe.
Larry, you saw this when you and I worked together. When we dealt with countries around the world, the most powerful tool that the United States had by far was its economy, its capacity to grow and generate wealth and prosperity for our own country, and then share that around the world through our great technology and selling great products at great value to those people. You know that those economic tools, if we throw them away, we will be weaker. The Chinese Communist Party knows this too. And so the Taiwan challenge that they're presenting is certainly one where there's a risk of military confrontation, and the Biden administration has done nothing to deter that. That's the key, is to demonstrate resolve and strength, and that'll keep the Chinese Communist Party from trying to overthrow the government there in Taiwan. But importantly, too, you know that Taiwan contains an awful lot of economic might, not only with its semiconductor industry, but others as well. The Chinese know that as well. This is about the economy. The Chinese have been at war with our economy and the American middle class, having stolen tens of millions of jobs from us here in the United States. What we're seeing in Taiwan today is an element, an extension of that very economic campaign against the United States that the Chinese have been engaged in for an awfully long time.
Secretary, what should a tough foreign policy look like with respect to this Chinese threat over Taiwan?
Well, two things to think about, Larry. First, there's a bigger geopolitical piece of this that the Biden administration has squandered. Iranian missiles flew from the Gaza Strip into Israel, and then the Taliban challenged them and overtook Kabul. American credibility is at its low point. It's at an ebb. They need to restore that more broadly. Second, more specifically, with respect to Taiwan, there are lots of things that we could do to demonstrate and provide confidence to the people of Taiwan that the United States and its allies, the Japanese, the Australians, the South Koreans, the Indians, all of whom know that allowing the Chinese Communist Party to dominate Taiwan, let alone take it over, would be bad for them. We need to do all of those confidence-building measures, including making sure that we provide the resources necessary to Taiwan to defend itself in a way that's consistent with our agreements.
I mean, shouldn't we, I'm going to use my friend Rich Lowry's line from National Review, shouldn't we arm Taiwan to the teeth? And secondly, Secretary, I'm reading in the papers that there are now American military forces in Taiwan acting as advisors to the Taiwanese forces. That strikes me as a good idea. What you think?
We should see a lot more U.S. gray holes up and around that vicinity, making clear to the people of the leadership in the Politburo of the Chinese Communist Party that this is going to be really costly, and then we should provide the Taiwanese whatever defensive systems they ask for. We did that in our administration, Larry. You were part of it. We sold them F-16Vs. We sold them MQ-9s. We should deliver on those quickly, and we should provide them the training and resources they need so that they can conduct the asymmetrical battle that they'll need to do to protect and preserve the thing that they want, which is just to live their lives in freedom.
You know, last thought, Mike. Reagan taught me when I was a kid working for him in the budget office, strong at home, strong abroad. Weak at home, weak abroad. I fear we're going the wrong way on both counts right now.
Amen. Spending $3.5 trillion makes us even weaker, Larry.
Secretary Mike Pompeo, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All best of luck.